Here we go again for part 2 of this epic battle between Team New Zealand and Mick Hill. Recapping after session 1, we saw the New Zealand team race out to a 3-0 lead, with Brent narrowly missing a close opportunity to take it to 4-0. Mick jumped on that narrow miss and then proceeded to win the next few in a row and brought it back to 3-all. So what a match we have on our hands here. All the players have had their first round crack, so we're going through again. Looks like at this stage the order is set to continue. So at 3-all, we've got Mick Hill versus Simon Singleton. So to the action at hand on the table, Mick is broken and he's got a ball. He's weighing up his options. Looks like he's drawn towards the reds. I feel like looking at the sort of bit of a cluster around the black spot of reds and yellows. Oh, is he going towards the yellows? I felt like perhaps the reds were going to be slightly easier to develop, but it could boil down to that red on the bottom rail at the very top of the screen. Is it on past the yellow? I think if that red is on, the reds are slightly better. Now Mick just needs to jump out of the way of the camera, and he's played a beautiful shot first up. So the lowest of those two reds, if he's landed on that to the corner, that was probably his biggest problem ball, and he's on it straight away. So that's pretty class there. The only question left really is going to be, what can he do afterwards? Obviously queuing off the rail with a small cue ball is always very limiting to what you can do with the cue ball, and it looks like he's going to catch that yellow adjacent pretty full. What's he got? Wow. Didn't see it that way. So, cool shot he's played there, actually, with the small white being that wee bit lighter, and you would have seen the effect there, is when you give it a decent bit of power, it really jumps sideways before the topspin grabs, and so sheerly by just adding a bit more force to that one, he's completely manipulated the angle and caused it to come out, and got not a bad kiss on his other red, and another good shot there. It looks like that red that he's just played would have been very close to missable. The fact that it caught the yellow a wee bit away from the pocket and still went in, often those ones have a tendency to jaw, so I don't know if there's a little bit of good luck as well as good management there, but either way, he's still shooting. Here looks like he might have actually deliberately, I wonder if he's deliberately screwed to just kind of get the right angle to make sure he wants to get, ideally, probably quite straight on the red to the middle last. I don't think he wants to be too fine on it, so he's, yeah. That was the problem. To be able to get on the 8 next, he had to get himself sort of, just on the right-hand side of the straight line. Unfortunately, he's got that all wrong, and he's popped those two yellows apart, so great opportunity for Simon here. He can chase the finish now. He's got plenty to work with in terms of developing the 1 and 2 problems, but at the same time, is a very easy opportunity, yep, as we've seen there, just to really bury it in there, because, a ball in hand is just going to make a finish here so much easier. Of course, no guarantee of a ball in hand. Back a player of mixed class to, hey, if he ain't potting these balls, he should at least be hitting them, and he's got to look at this one to the middle. So I think from here, he's realistically got to be looking to really try and pot that, hasn't he? Because with where the yellows are, Simon's absolutely got the upper hand now. And he's missed it by a wee bit, so perhaps just not quite used to playing on this table. Maybe he's spent a wee bit of time on the CNZ table since he's been here. He's possibly used to those, because I know that these Supreme tables, especially with the new fine cloth on the rails, they do tend to play to the pace a wee bit more. And by that I mean, as you play the ball softer, the cue ball will slide wider. As you play it harder, it will straighten up a wee bit. So these tables do tend to exaggerate that effect. Maybe that's caught Mick out there if he hasn't been on these tables much since he's been in New Zealand. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm just making excuses for him, but either way, great chance for Simon now, and would love to see Team NZ get back in front after Mick nicking back the last 3, that's for sure. So, nice pace control there from Simon. One just to be a little bit wary of is the 2 yellows that need to go into the same corner up the top left of the table as we're looking at it. I'm not sure if he's got enough space where he can just kind of cut the first one in and come back out for the yellow to the middle. That's probably going to be the go. So I would suspect he'll take this one to the bottom right corner first, run himself up towards, ideally headland, sort of right in the centre of the bulk area. Or he could try and develop it. Yep, also the other option is just playing the plant of the combo. If you weren't confident nicking it in fine and coming back out, play the plant. It's often a good idea to avoid plants. They do introduce a bit more of a chance of missing, but from that proximity and guys of this class, they should be making that every day of the week, and Simon has executed that well. Again, takes the second rail perfectly out to the centre of the table. Just tap it in. 2 straight shots to finish, and there we go. So Simon picking up where he left off in his first round match with another win, and New Zealand back in front, 4-3. So great stuff for this big sold out crowd of New Zealand fans. They'll be loving this, and obviously this Mick Hill tour is travelling all around the country, and hopefully people are getting amongst it and really enjoying, whether you're going to the exhibitions or the lessons. I just think that there's a lot of value, entertainment, and knowledge to be had for all, depending whatever you want to get out of it. But obviously this event here in Richmond and Christchurch, standout event, having this New Zealand team versus Mick Hill match. Real treat and fantastic value for the spectators and the crowd who've come down to watch this. They'll be having a hell of a time, and I can tell you the atmosphere in the room is fantastic at the moment. This crowd, they're getting up every single time these New Zealand boys pop balls and get frames on the board. So I hope the boys are having a blast out there. It looks really good. So there's Wilcox back to the table, but Mick Hill has the first visit. So I'm wondering if that might have been the first dry break we've seen all night. I'm not sure, I haven't been keeping stats, but that's the first one I can recall. So good standard of breaking if it's taken getting to the 8th frame for a dry break. Definitely makes for more exciting viewing when we're seeing balls sunk off the breaks and tables cleared, that's for sure. Now we can all appreciate the tactical side of the game as well, but at the end of the day, nothing beats watching these boys break and run the table like it's nobody's business. So, nice shot there from Mick. Oh, unlucky with a res land. I take that back. It's just like the commentator's curse. As soon as I start saying nice shot, turns to that. And that's just a great lesson for anybody out there who's watching, Paul. I know you want to support your boys and say nice shot, but man, you really have to wait until the cue ball comes to rest, because how often does that happen when you say nice shot after the initial pot? So Mick not messing around though, very quick to develop that 8 back open. Obviously he's got this yellow on the right hand side as we look at it, covered by the red. He's had a pop straight away at trying to kick that red out, and it has not come off. So you should see what he does from here, because at this point, with no real good shot to keep things going or open that yellow, the frame is really starting to lean towards Dez's favour. Ultimately, if Mick can't finish here, Dez has got a lot more options. So he's got a lot more balls that might be on. He's got a lot more balls to hide behind. And that shows. So Mick knows at this point that's why he has to keep shooting. There's no point in him trying to, slow things down, tie things up. Covering a pocket doesn't work in these rules. So he's taken on the double and he's played it beautifully. Here I was writing him off, and he's just making an absolute fool of me. He's made the double and he's cleared up anyway. So shows what I know. I think I said it in the first match. I'm setting myself up here trying to commentate and call shots on arguably the best player in the world. But hey, we're giving it a crack, and he's showing why he's the machine. So straight away, we'll level again, 4-4, and yeah, again, this is just such a good match, this one. Really enjoying this. Hope you guys at home watching are enjoying this as well. Wee bit of a treat. I'm not sure many people sort of knew that this match was even being filmed or streamed or anything. Obviously, not going for the live stream because it's, these sort of events all about getting a decent crowd in the room and the atmosphere and all that. But it's definitely still being recorded on the background and brought to you all to enjoy at a later date. So yeah, hope you guys are really enjoying watching this, and hopefully I'm doing a passable job of trying to commentate what Mick's doing on the table. So here we go. Mick, he had the break, he's scratched, and he's handed a fantastic opportunity to Lightning Lily. Now, Adam, a lot of people will know, he's out of his arm brace. Obviously, he had his dance floor accident earlier this year and has been just getting back into playing a wee bit again recently, even with that brace, which, it's been very difficult for him. It's been holding his front arm at close to a 90-degree angle, and as you can actually pick up from watching him, he's still not quite able to fully extend and straighten his front arm. So just a credit to what an absolute curious Adam is, that not only is he playing, but he's still competing. It makes me sick sometimes. One of the other Canterbury tournaments not too long ago that ended up taking out Pierre's tournament with Jordan Mahi, but watching that one, saying early in the day, I was thinking, oh man, no way in hell I want to lose to someone who's playing in an arm brace, but none of the class of the guy. He's incredibly effective still, and just makes you wonder what he'll be capable of when he gets back to full health, because as we're seeing here, yet again, he's just cleaning up. You can't stop him. And it just shows the level here. I mean, I thought there I was just going to, slip in a quick little 20, 30 second, yep, Adam's doing good with his arm and all that, and the short time that I've taken to do a bit of background on that, he's already down here cleared the table. So beautiful stuff from Adam Lilly. And again, it's just a great showcase for this rule set, this game of pool, and even you could argue these tables. I think some people ask us about these tables, whether they're a bit more generous or tighter, and obviously it's a 6-foot table, not a 7-foot table, which a lot of us in New Zealand are used to. And look, I must admit that when I first started watching some of the Pro Series and some of the Ultimate Pool, I was sort of watching these tables and thinking they definitely looked a lot more generous than our Clubs New Zealand tables. And it wasn't until I got basically got the opportunity to play on them a wee bit myself that they're definitely not as generous as they sometimes look on TV. It's more about the pace, I think, and there's sort of certain paces that they do play a little bit more generous. So again, I think those shots into the corners down the rails, for example, or just off the rail, those are the ones that when you play them at a slightly slower, more controlled pace, I think especially just with the new fine cloth, which is a bit slippery, and the new balls that are sort of well polished, the ball will slide in slightly more off the rails, whereas when you've got our more the pocket cut of our Clubs New Zealand tables and a slightly heavier cloth or a more worn cloth, that's when the ball will sort of grip in the pockets a wee bit more. So I think in my opinion that's probably the main factor in terms of these tables playing slightly more generous. But yeah, to be honest, I really think it's for the best of the game personally. Again, only my personal opinion, but I think a lot of us just, when it comes to spectating, we want to see these guys playing their shots. We want to see them clearing the table, and if a slightly more generous pocket is conducive to that, then I think that can only be a good thing. And I think the only caveat there is that, you don't want to make the pockets so generous that you can just bang them in from anywhere, and I think what you'd see with these pockets is if the guys were trying to take on those shots down the rail or near the rail at a lot more pace, suddenly those pockets do start playing quite a bit tighter again. So yeah, they're definitely not ridiculously easy, that's for sure. So we've got Mick Hill going about his work at the table here, and that is not a good kiss. So a couple of little uncharacteristic errors from Mick tonight. He won't be happy with that one because he just wasn't playing to hit that ball at all, and he's caught quite a big piece of it. And again, perhaps just maybe the ball just opening up slightly wider off these cushions. So he's going to have to play a shot here. Bottom left, ideally 2 rails and underneath them, I think. Yeah, that's the way. And so the reason there you really want to play 2 rails into them, not 1 rail, is because if you only go the 1 rail into them, even though you're going to break them open, you're only going to be kicking them closer towards the rail and the other yellows. So I guess it's sort of more advanced ball developing and shot making. Perhaps when you first get into the point in your game, we're trying to, develop the balls and open them up. Initially, we're thinking just a bit of contact to separate them will do the job, but Mick there just showcasing just the more advanced level of that, where he's thinking, okay, yep, I could hit them off one rails, but if I put a bit more spin and go the extra rail, I can not only develop them, but try and develop them into the open a wee bit more. So unfortunately, while I was saying all that, as we've seen, even though he made the split, he didn't quite get the desired posse that he was after. So he wasn't able to finish off, but he was able to leave Des a tough shot. Now Des, as we've very quickly seen, he's jumped up and thought, you know what, I'm just going to back myself to just bang in that double and run out. I know that feeling because it sends a good message when you just jump up and just bang that double in, both to your opponent, and it gives you a nice confidence boost. It definitely looks pretty cool. Unfortunately, it just hasn't quite come off on that time, and he's handed the onus back to Mick here. So good chance for Mick. Little bit tight to navigate this one. No issues with the pot, but obviously with those 3 yellows sort of in the landing zone that he'd like to be on that red, he's going to need a good one here. Looks like he might be quite natural to come between the gap. Let's see. Oh, so he's a wee bit lucky there. I mean, the fact that he glanced that yellow on the way through the gap nearly put him behind the other yellow, but fortunately he's hit it just thin enough that he's still hit the 3rd yellow on the way through, which is just pulled up the white. So, unlucky. And as I was saying that, I was definitely looking there and thinking he's going to have to play another shot here to give himself a look at the black. Unfortunately, wasn't a natural angle to get on the black. The black was barely on anywhere. Maybe with a really precise cue ball, he could have got underneath it and played it sort of back to the top right of the screen as we see it, but that would have been equally risky. So he's backed himself at the split. Unfortunately, he's just hit the wrong part of the ball and covered himself behind the yellow. So here we go. He's not much to do with that one. Couldn't overly take on a pot. I mean, you could argue with a shot like that, like maybe do you just roll the dice and give it a decent ping, but oh geez, and sorry, I was saying Des before, and Des was the previous frame, wasn't he? And this is Brent, so very sorry there. Maybe I just spotted the glove and thought maybe it was Des playing glove. I don't know. I'm trying to make excuses for myself. I bottled it. At the end of the day, it's still Mick Hill. It's still Team NZ. And Brent has a great chance here. So Brent, after making only one mistake, been quite close to running out in that first frame, he'll be hanging out for a chance of redemption here. So see what he's got. He's got a safe 2-way shot here. Take on the hard pot now. You expect to make it, but you kind of know that if you miss, you've got it covered, which always frees you up on those ones. So pretty good looking layer here. We can either just drop this and take the yellow to the middle next. Yep. So I think we're probably just looking at 3 pretty straight shots. Drop the yellow in the middle, drop the next yellow sort of down the bulk end, bottom left as we see it. Short screw back, get yourself pretty straight on the next yellow, and then again you're just looking at another stop and a little baby screw back for the black. So keeping it short and simple, that is the key with the small white. You want to be travelling that ball as short a distance as possible, and to be fair, it's probably true of all cue sports, not just the small white, but nice simple stuff there from Brent. And again, if you can pick your orders and your sequences well in this game, we make it look a lot easier. So Brent loving it. He's happy to get his frame on the board, collecting his high fives. Got to get him, all about it. And it looks like Stevie D, he's wiping down his shaft, getting his cue ready for action. So shaking hands with Mick, Steve to break. And I'm pretty sure that is Team NZ back in front. So fantastic that we're getting to witness such a tight match. It's so easy in these sort of settings for things to blow out one way or the other. It's just the nature of this game. You get a bit of momentum, you get under a wee bit of pressure. Say you get that 3 or 4 frame lead and things can run away one way or the other. But we've been treated today, getting a really, really close match that's going tit for tat. So long may this continue. Although, personally, I'm hoping that the NZ team just edged out, just stay on top. So, yeah, sorry, it was a 6-4 lead that's pushed things out to. So, absolutely battling here in the comm box to stay on top of what's going on. Doing my best. Doing my best. So, Stevie D, fresh off his NZ Open win, he'll be looking to just carry on where he's left off, really. Very, very happy for Steve to get his NZ Open win this year. I spoke to him a little bit sort of afterwards, and I told him I was, Steve was probably my pick for the NZ Open this year, and the no major reason why, other than I felt that he just had a bit more of a point to prove after sort of narrowly missing out last year. I think last year he would have fancied himself being in the mix for major honours and New Zealand team stuff, and unfortunately he was overseas for one of our major events, South Island. So the only one he played in was the Nationals. I think he went well in that. Just couldn't quite collect enough ranking points from the one event to get himself in the mix. So I know while he was cheering us on last year, he would have also been sitting there rueing that he was not in the team himself. So yeah, credit to Steve for the only thing you can do in those situations is come back stronger next time, and he's done that this year and proved why he should be one of the first names on the team sheet. So yeah, credit to Steve. And is he going to make the finish here though? So perhaps not quite the angle he would love to have on this yellow here. He's kind of in between, taking it to the middle in the corner, and whichever way you go, the cue ball doesn't naturally want to stay on the next yellow. So I'm wondering if he can kind of take it to the middle and sort of screw it across the table and back into the centre. He's just desailed a wee bit. So I think that was the shot, but that was going to need a lot of spin to really kind of straighten it back up. And to be fair, looking from this overhead angle, I'm not sure it was there. The only other thing he could have been doing was trying to slide a bit further underneath it and play the yellow to the middle. Now that I'm looking a bit further, I'm wondering if that probably was the shot he was playing. And is that shot still there? And the shot is still there. I've been supporting these guys, but they're starting to annoy me now because I feel like they're on a mission to make me look bad with what I'm trying to call here. We're doing our best, but hey, that's the nature of the game. We don't always get it right. But I'll tell you who has got it right there. That's Steve Denton. And that's another frame on the board. So is that the 3-frame lead? Back opened up. Get those high fives, Steve. Get them. Loving it. And yes, I'm pretty sure with the 3-frame lead, we're sort of back where we were in the start of the match. So just starting to open up enough now that the New Zealand boys might be starting to feel good, and Mick might be starting to sweat. But we'll see what happens here. So another chance for Ryan King. Missed out on his first opportunity, so let's see if he can get one back over Mick this time round. I'm just going to wait for the score to come back up on the screen rather than keep trying to guess it myself. So good contact on the break, but unfortunately nothing down, and a pretty dirty cue ball position as well to boot. So, but unfortunate, just the way it goes sometimes. And we will see Mick Hill come back to the table with one last chance in the session to close the deficit. So while the ball is in the corner, it's just far enough out that he can still cue it all right. So I think definitely the Reds looking the balls here. A couple of those yellows are a little bit close to the rail and too close together on the right of the screen as we look at it. That just poses a little bit of risk. So Mick looking at Reds, and yeah, they are laid out nice. So let's come back for this one. Often those balls sort of on the bottom rail are a good ball to come back up the table with. Either you finish short on them and you've got natural angle sort of just nicking it in fine, running up and down, or you finish low on them and again you've just got natural angle taking you up and away. So again, one of those, one of the other standouts from Mick's coaching lesson is all about getting yourself on the natural angle. If you can get yourself sort of in a position that's quite close to natural angle, it's just limiting how much you have to do with the cue ball. And if all you've ever got to do is just add a touch of stun or a touch of side, touch of top, a touch of bottom to sort of manipulate it to get your position, you've just got a much better chance of staying under control. And I think that was one of the points is trying to drive home, is that even though most of us have got the ability to play the more expansive shots, anytime you're having to, drive the cue through the ball a bit more, add a bit more power, or really time a ball with a bit of spin to get posi, there's just so much more scope for things to go wrong. And another good execution here from Mick of just keeping things simple, good reading. Doesn't even get down to block that last one. The disrespect. So there he is, waving for the crowd, doing the twirl. He's happy to close that gap up. And again, I think an important frame, like we said earlier, just getting it back to within 2 rather than 4 down could be key. So New Zealand take the lead. That is the end of the second session, and we will be back again for the final session. So see you again soon.